Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about a topic that I'm really passionate about, which is why do you need product management if you want to build good no-code products? I'm Manon Mercier. I'm a product operations manager and I am a product builder specialized in backend. And I also am a no-code product teacher. I'm a freelancer now, and I used to work at HEC Paris at the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center as a product manager and a product builder. Okay. Also, this slide was for the live conference, so I think I can skip it now, but I just wanted to know who I was talking to, if it was mainly product managers or software engineers or no-code makers, and it was a majority of software engineers. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about the fact that I think if you want to build a useful and impactful product nowadays, why can't you ignore product management if you are a no-code engineer? So I think that today the way we use no-code for businesses is the smallest part of the iceberg, and that the biggest part is the part that we cannot see is the potential of no-code technologies for businesses. In my opinion, there are so many people, so many organizations, so many sectors, and so many jobs that still don't know anything about the power of no-code tools and no-code technologies. Although they could get so many benefits from them. And also, in addition, in terms of tech democratization, problem solving, and professional opportunities, I think no-code has so much to offer. So to understand why I am talking to you about this, I need to tell you a bit of my story. In fact, I come from social sciences, so I didn't know anything about tech before. I studied sociology and political sciences, so I was really, really far away from tech and products. A few years ago, I accidentally discovered product management and no-code in a job. I was actually a product builder in a small startup, and it was like it was a new step in a new world for me, and I became a really fan of it, but I didn't know anything about it before. It really changed my life and my working conditions too, and a whole new world opened to me, which was a passionate one. That's why now my concern is to democratize tech to every sector that need it. And I decided to address clients today, companies, but also students that have zero tech and product maturity. And I realized that my biggest need as a freelancer, but as also a product manager when I was at HEC, was not just to ship solutions, but to have a real impact on my users. I really wanted to solve real problems, to build products that matters, that are useful, and that are used. However, I've realized that no-code is booming since a few years, as we can all see. But I think no-code is still suffering from a lack of credibility, a lack of institutionalization, and a lack of professionalization. I see a lot of no-code makers who are shipping projects and features, but without really knowing why, and without thinking about the real user's needs, about scalability, about value, and about consistency of what they build, which I think is a really big problem about no-code uses and professionalization. I see a lot of projects that cost time, that cost energy, and that aren't used at all, or that are POCs, MVPs, or just single-use products. So here is the opportunity that I see. If, as no-code engineers, our first goal every day would be to onboard our users, to understand their needs, to save their money and time and hour too, and to bring them as much value as we can with the minimal efforts, maybe our product would be really efficient, really qualitative, and really used. And maybe no-code would be more professional, more serious, more scalable, and more reliable, especially in comparison to traditional software engineer. And my hypothesis, I think you understood it, is that we need more product management in no-code engineering to get there. This is why. So you could think now, why am I so attached to the idea that we need more product management to professionalize, no-code engineering? And the fact is that when I started to discover tech, let's say, as I told you, I've started working in digital as a product builder. So what I understood was that there were two worlds that were communicating really good with each other, which was on one hand, product management, and on the other hand, software engineering. I understood that product management was about its goal was to think about product strategy, product vision, and especially to analyze users' needs. And that software engineering was there to build and to monitor digital products. And that the meat of those two worlds gave no-code products. I've discovered the power of no-code tools for tech teams when I started, which was to navigate really fast from conception to development, to easily go from ideas to products, and to build product really fast in comparison to traditional software engineering. But that the goal of it and the main objective was to save time and money and to optimize efforts. But then I've also realized the power of product management for tech teams. Because I realized that actually product management was about using specific methodologies and to have a critical analysis, and also to be oriented toward users' needs and business needs and their pain points, and to really consider them. But that product management also helps to get strong support from users and from business teams, which is like super important when you deliver a product. And that it creates a really good stickiness and a good adoption for the products you build from teams and also from users themselves. As I said, I'm working in backend, so my users are operational users, intern users inside companies. But I think this really works also when you do some B2C. And that the whole point of it, as for no code, was to save money, to save time, and to optimize efforts. So it was the exact same conclusion than with no code tools. So when I discovered no code tools and product management together, I was like, okay, wow, this is great. Actually, this is really passionating, and this is so powerful. And as I said, I discovered them in the same time. So I was really like, okay, everybody does this. Everybody does some product management with no code tools, especially when you need to build products for B2B and for internal uses. But the thing is that when I discovered the real world of product and no-code, especially when I was starting to look for jobs in companies, I realized that actually the biggest part of no-code today was only about software engineering. So it was about building products and to monitor them. But actually, I've realized that also in the No-Code France community, which I'm part of and which I really, really love, there are so many developers and I say developers, but it's more like no-code makers. So they weren't developers before, but that there were so less product managers. And I realized that those two worlds weren't communicating with each other at all. So I was like, wow, how is it possible? How it came? So when I discovered it, I was like, how is it possible? To be honest, I was really like, the product and no-code really are my patients. So I was really like, how is it possible? They are so good with each other, even more than with traditional software engineering. So I was just like, it's such a waste. And they were meant to be actually because they fit so well together. So the thing is that we could wonder why, in my opinion, product management is necessary to build impactful and useful no-code products. So I'm going to tell you now. If we go back to basics and we consider who does what in a product team, let's say, or in a dev team. So on one hand, we have developers. So their role is to code and to program and to integrate. And I say developers because it really works for traditional software developers, but also for no-code makers. I think it's really the same positions and the same topics. So developers, they implement websites or web apps or softwares. They communicate also with their peers dev. They do some research to find the right tools and the right solutions. They do the functional testing. They write documentation when they want to, because in no code, I think it's really a problem too that nobody writes documentation, and I think it's a shame because we should all do. But in no code, it's a bit complicated, let's say, to acknowledge this. Also, they monitor the stack, so they do the debug and the refinement, and they are oriented to solve complex problems. So they do tasks that requires high level of focus, which is really important to consider, I think. So let's say they are in charge of building and maintaining products. Now I'm gonna talk to you about the role of a product manager, of product managers, let's say. And to be honest, I allow myself to do this because as a product builder, I am both. I need some time to be a developer and I need some time to be a product manager. So to navigate through those two roles really allow me to understand what are the limits of each of them, and who needs to do what, and to see the differences of them. So that's why I'm not saying anything bad about developers, because I consider myself as a developer too. And it's the same for product managers. I consider myself as a product manager too. So product managers, so they understand, analyze, and translate users' needs into features, which is, I think, the biggest part. They are oriented for strategy, for business, and for product market fit. They really search for and look for the product market fit. It can be internal or external. Also, they are supposed to be at least data driven. So they think in terms of KPIs, OKRs, and they really search for the good metrics to track. They also build vision and priority. They prioritize. Sorry, this word is so hard to say for French people. They think in terms of roadmap and of iteration loops. So it's the logic of test and learn. They coordinate developers and designers, if there are some, within their teams. And also they are decision makers and they are accountable for the whole product. And they do something that nobody wants to, which is to communicate with stakeholders. So actually, we could say that they are in charge of strategy and of carrying 360 degrees product vision. So if we go back to the last slide, developers are in charge of building and maintaining products, and product managers are in charge of strategy and the whole product vision. So if we go back to basics once again, the product life cycle teaches us that to say it briefly, the aim of product management is also this, to be able to define a problem, to develop it, then to deliver it, and then to go back to the initial discovery. And then you do this loop again and again. So that's what helps to build product that really answer to a real need, actually. And if we look at the double diamond methodology, actually, it's the same. So we discover a problem, we define it, then we develop a solution and we deliver it. And then we monitor and we do it again and again to just improve it with time. So if we go back to the basics too, as I said, the advantages of no-code technologies are to save time, money, and to optimize our efforts to our clients too, to be honest. Our efforts as product managers, as developers, as designers, but also with the whole stakeholders and with clients in general. But my point today is to say that, let's be honest, saving time, money, and efforts doesn't mean to build useless products. It does not mean to create 10 times more technical depth than with traditional software engineering, which is the case, especially with no-code tools and with this vision of drag and drop. And we think we just move something, but actually we create so much more technical depth than with traditional software engineering. Also, it doesn't mean working without any methodologies, because as I said, product management is mainly about methodologies. So if you skip this, then most of the time you're going to ask to a freelancer, for example, who is also a no-code builder, about its methodology. And most of the time it is just to do what the clients ask him to. And it's the same when you go to companies and you see some no-code developers. They just do exactly what people ask them to, without any critical analysis, without any methodology, which is complicated, I think, to build a useful and impactful product, especially if you want the IT service in a big company, for example, to consider it and not to do some shadow IT. Because sometimes we don't have any, we don't respect any development universal rules when you do some no-code, which is, I think, really a problem. And also, in the same way, it doesn't mean to not to write any technical documentation at all, which is something, as I said, that I see a lot, especially when I go after some other people and I'm like, what, you sold, someone sold you this and you don't have any technical documentation. So most of the time you can just throw away your product, which is, I think, a shame. So just to be clear, I think it's really important to say that no code doesn't mean no expertise. Not everyone can do this. It doesn't mean no skills. It doesn't mean no design and no conception either. It doesn't mean no quality. And the most important is that it doesn't mean quick and dirty. It's not because we can do things faster that we need to do them without any methodology and without any consistency, really, because I see this so much. So, to be honest, I think that this does not work. It's not possible to just develop something and not to be able to define any problems. It's not possible that you don't have any data, you don't have anything to learn from your users. If you don't do some qualitative and quantitative research, it's not possible that just suddenly like this, you have some idea that your client, for example, tell you to, that you just build and develop this idea of your client, and then suddenly you have a good product. It's not possible. It's not possible to not to have any discovery. And also, it's really, really important to maintain what you ship and to measure the effects of your product, to define in advance a good, an objective, a goal to achieve with your product, and not to just do what people ask you to. I think a good professional in no-code should do this. So once again, if you want to build useful and impactful products that are used and that answer to real needs, I think it's really, really impossible to just think about, I'm going to ship features. I'm going to show that I'm capable of technical things and that I'm just going to ship technical things. It's really not possible. Building products is not the same than just shipping features. So I think this doesn't work too. It's not possible to skip the discovery and the defining phase of the problem and to just go directly to the solution. It's not possible also to not to wonder how you're going to deliver it, how you're going to deal with change management, how you're going to do some training for the people that are going to use your tool, how you're going to make sure that you collect some data to make sure that you had a good answer with your product to the initial need and all these kind of things. I mean, you can do this, but is it going to be useful and used? I don't think so. So in my opinion, the product we build, so the shipping part actually is the smallest part again of the iceberg. And the biggest part is what needs to be done to build efficient products. So it's the whole part of to define for who this product is it, why do we need to build it, how are we going to build it, and what for, and how are you going to how is it going to be used, how are we going to measure this, and everything. So I think that development is a means, but not an end on itself. And if we all focus on this small part, it doesn't allow us to build quality products. So, to be honest, I don't believe the idea that a product builder could replace a product manager, a designer, and a developer, because this is something I see a lot, especially in job offers. Most of the time, people just are like, okay, this is no code, so one person can do it all. No, it's not possible, actually, especially if you have complex product for real business, that is scalable and that has a good money, let's say. It's not possible to do this and to think in these cheap terms, because you cannot replace three brains by one, and neither three sets of skills by one, because no code is not magic, and no code is not that much different than traditional engineering. So you cannot replace those three sets of skills. You need the same resources and almost the same methods. You can save some time actually during the product's delivery phase, but you cannot skip the product's ideation phase, or else your product is just going to be useless, in my opinion too. And to be honest, to prepare this talk, I asked about what was the good things about collaborating with me, with the developers I am working with. I asked them, okay, me, it's my passion to build more bridges between product and no code, but maybe I'm crazy about this, and it's just because I'm too passionate about it, and I really think they could get so many benefits from building more bridges between them. But I was like, okay, just tell me in a few words, what are the benefits for you to include more product management, so more me actually, or other product managers in your no-code project, because that's something I really push a lot. I say to young developers especially, just go and make a duo with a product manager, and you're going to see you're going to really increase the efficiency of the product you're going to build, especially for your clients. So what are the benefits of it? So actually, it facilitates communication, and it's the fact of taking decisions and to share ownership, because actually product managers with clients, with stakeholders, they speak both dev and client language, and that's what the developer I'm working with told me. You speak both the client language and my technical language, so it's something really crazy, because you just translate their needs in a language that I can speak with. Also, it helps to understand users' needs, and the fact that the users' needs are really good understood and also translated, it helps to grow efficiency of your product, because product managers, they know about a lot of use cases because they talk with a lot of different users every day. And that's something that developers cannot afford, because probably mainly they don't like it or they don't want to, but also because they cannot afford to do so. Also, it anticipates technical complexity and it simplifies developers' jobs, so they can focus on what really matters. And to be honest, it's something I see a lot, because I know the developers I'm working with, I know the clients, and I know a lot of use cases. So I can really easily anticipate some technical complexity and avoid to lose some time to ship something that isn't going to work, because it's going to be too complex regarding the user's needs or the client's needs or the client context in terms of business or of operations. But also, it allows to consider a lot of different use cases. And also, it's really upgrade technical documentation and data tracking, because developers have other things to do than to do the technical documentation, especially in no code, because if so less people are writing technical documentation, I think it's for a reason. And it's the same for data tracking. If we want to be less focused on shipping and more about tracking, about to see how was the product used, was it helpful, was it useful, what can we change, what can we improve for the next version, I think you really need someone to do this, because developers, they cannot do everything, and I think it's not their job. So it helps for a better transmission and also to measure more the impact of the product. And the conclusion of it is the fact that what we ship is really used, because I know that everyone, it was the case in the room and everyone who is watching this video, I know we all know a case of a product that took some time, some energy, some efforts, some money, and to be shipped, and that wasn't used at all because the needs weren't well understood, because the change management weren't done well, and that it's not enough to just build a product, to put it in your user's hand and to be like, okay, just use it because it's going to change your life. Most of the time, it doesn't work like this, and we know it. Because product managers, they do some research, they make assumptions, they test them, and they adapt and they iterate for the product, which help the product to improve and to be always closer from the user's needs. So finally, it allows developers to focus on what really matters. And it also worked for me as a product builder. Sometimes I work more with product managers because I see that it's too hard for me to go from product manager to developer, that the needs are too big, too huge, that the issues too, and that I need someone else to help me to take some distance, and that I cannot always be the person who builds and also who speak with the user's needs, let's say. So it's something really important to consider. Everyone has his job and everyone is good for something. And it's important to wonder and to consider who is good for what task and what's the value of using at this moment a product manager and at this moment a developer. So, for example, for most of my no-code products, it's approximately 60% of product manager or product builder, 10% of UX UI designer, and 30% of developers. So it's an average, but it's to give you an idea that I think for me the biggest positive thing about no-code is to reduce this one, but not this one. It's really important. And to be honest, it works really well for us because we have happy clients, we have long-term collaborations, and we build scalable products and not only MVPs and POCs. So, to conclude, I think that to build quality products, you need to, first of all, to show empathy to your users, to understand their real needs, to analyze and to summarize them, also to translate them into features, and most of all, you need to prioritize them and to establish a roadmap, to think about MVPs first and not to go straight to the solution. And you need for this to communicate a lot with your clients, with your users, and with your stakeholders. In my opinion, that's the biggest part. So all of this allows you to build a product that works. And I think this is a full-time job, that requires specific skills and specific methodology. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned some things today, or at least that you just consider what I was saying and that you're going to think about it when you're going to ship no-code products or when you're going to build a team to do so. So yeah, thank you so much. I wish you a great day, a lot of collaborations with product managers. I hope so. And yeah, to say it again, I'm Manon Mercier, and you can find me on LinkedIn if you have any question, if you want to discuss about this topic, because I'm really passionate about it. So it would be with pleasure. And yeah, if you just have any questions or any feedbacks about this, I would be really happy to talk with you. Thank you.